Staying in contact. I'm London Mitchell. Each week, we take a few minutes to examine an issue in our community and introduce individuals working to address those issues. Now, admittedly, sometimes we do get into the weeds, but hopefully you'll leave each installment with some food for thought and maybe the inspiration to roll up your own sleeves and join in effort. My guest today is longtime Toledo area realtor Michael Murray. He has lived in the Toledo area since childhood and would not consider living anywhere else. He's also been instrumental in helping solve several issues that faced his own neighborhood. So tell me, Michael Murray, what is it about the Toledo area that has such a hold on you?
I'm one of 8 children. I went to school here, and because I went really in business at a very early age. I was like 12 years old when I started shining shoes in the barbershop on Saturday. I've met thousands and thousands of people, and quite frankly, I love it here. And in my mid-20s, I got in the real estate business, local real estate business, selling houses. So it just has morphed into a lifelong love of family, friends, businesses, favorite restaurants. And I'm very happy here.
As a lifelong Toledoan, I know that it is lifelong Toledoans that are the most reluctant to talk up Toledo. What are the features about our community that really impress you and you would like to talk about when you see somebody who is unfamiliar with Toledo?
Oh, Toledo has so many incredible assets. Number one, we have a great history. We have the Port of Toledo. We have the Maumee River. We have the incredible Toledo Zoo. One of the finest art museums in the world is right here in Toledo, Ohio. And we have a lot of good people, interesting businesses, great restaurants. There's so much to do here. And one of the biggest things that's very important is not a lot of traffic. You know, you can literally go anywhere in 20 minutes from across town to any of the suburbs, to downtown, to shopping. It's easy to get around.
Now, you're in real estate. How does the real estate market stack up in Toledo compared to other areas of the country and comparable cities?
I think the biggest thing we have going for us is our affordable housing. Unfortunately, right now we have a shortage of housing, and with the inflation being what it has been the last few years, it's kind of pushed up the prices of homes, and then the interest rates are a little high. So people that perhaps are renting today, I hope are saving to buy their first home or move up to a second home or even move down to a third home or retirement home. But quite frankly, it's very affordable compared to other cities.
You know, I think that if you're not watching HGTV, you really don't know how affordable housing is here in Toledo. When you look at comparable housing in some of the cities, say on the West Coast or the East Coast.
The prices of those houses are just they're mind-boggling for us from here in the Midwest. But you get a lot of house for your money here, and you know, housing is you've got from a 3-bedroom, 1-bath to a 4 or 5 bedroom, 4 or 5 bath. I mean, there's so many different selections you have according to what your income is and where you want to live, where you want your kids to go to school, close to your work, etc. But there's something for everybody.
You and I have known each other for quite a while, so I know that once upon a time you moved into the old west end of Toledo when many other families were moving out of the old west end. What prompted your move into one of Toledo's older neighborhoods?
Uh, I love to tell this story. My dear Grandma Murray lived on Virginia Street. in the Old West End. And when we were kids and would go visit Grandma, we drove by that beautiful, incredible English Tudor mansion at the corner of Robin Wood and West Bancroft. And as we rounded that corner, I looked at that house and said, someday I'm going to own that house. I'm an artist, and the architecture, the exterior is just outstanding. It's a one of a kind home. Well, when I had my real estate license, and I was taking an appraisal course on Thursday evenings at the University of Toledo. And the instructor, Robert Hunt, said, hey, Michael, see me after class. So, of course, I was curious, what did he want to see me about? So I stopped to see him, and he said, appraise the beautiful English Tudor at the corner of Robin Wood and West Bancroft for the Oblate Fathers of Mary Immaculate. Their numbers have dwindled, and they are going to take the few of them that are there and go back to Boston. And I recommended you to sell the house for them. Oh my gosh, my ship came in. I was so excited. I didn't wait for Father Donovan to call me. I was down there the very next morning at 9 o'clock ringing their doorbell and bought the house. So it was I believe in life that we get very few opportunities. And when you have an opportunity, you have to jump on it. And I really didn't care about the reputation of the neighborhood. I didn't care about anything. I wanted that house so bad. I bought it. I paid the highest price anybody ever paid for a home in the Old West End at that time. And I had 21 wonderful years there, raising my family, and made a lot of friends, sold a lot of homes in the neighborhood. And I just can't say enough about it's really a hidden treasure, incredible place to live.
When we talk about the Old West End, give me the boundaries. We're talking about the neighborhoods west of Collingwood.
Well, Collingwood is kind of the dividing line, and it goes down to, I believe, Maplewood, Hollywood. And then the boundaries extend further north, Collingwood, to basically where it runs into Detroit. And on the south side, it goes all the way down to, I believe, Dorr Street. Excuse me, I'm going to backtrack. It goes to the freeway.
Okay. Now, let me ask you again about living in the Old West End. There were, okay, let's just say the reputation of the neighborhood was somewhat suspect. You were going to live there, you were going to raise your family there, and you were not going to allow the neighborhood to deteriorate. Is this a fair statement?
That's a very fair statement. One of the things that's incredible about the Old West End are the people that live there. We moved in, I want to say in September of 1977, and we were graciously welcomed by all the neighbors. Well, as things went on, of course, I knew about the reputation of crime in the Old West End. And quite frankly, I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. You had two very good organizations in the Old West End, the Old West End Association and the Women of the Old West End. And we perceived that we had a problem and we wanted to deal with it. So for 2 years in a row, we went to city council budget hearings and asked for more policemen. Quite frankly, what a lot of people don't understand about the police department, at least the way it was at that time, Toledo had so many police districts, and you only had one police car to answer calls or patrol in a district. Well, the Old West End was divided into two districts. The dividing line was Delaware Avenue. North of Delaware was it was number 10, and south of Delaware was number 20. Well, quite often, we did find out that quite often when they were short of policemen, they would pull cars from our neighborhood. And this didn't sit well with us. So after we lobbied for several years and got nowhere, we had an incident in the neighborhood. An elderly lady on Robin Wood, her home was broken into, and they robbed her. And the last thing they did was they took the lady's wedding ring. Well, that was kind of the spark that set us off. And my good friend Judy Stone and I had been talking for some time about, if we can't get the city to give us adequate protection, maybe we needed to hire our own private security patrol. Well, that was the catalyst that started an incredible organization called Old West End Security. Several years prior, the women of the Old West End tried to implement a block watch program, and it got started, but it really wasn't very successful. So what we did was we organized 45 blocks in the neighborhood. Each block had a block captain that would keep the neighbors on their block informed and to help us get it organized. Well, we did it. We went it from two different directions. Number one, we hired a private security patrol. At that time, it was Minutemen Patrol. Neighbors shipped in $15 a month. And at the same time, we did a block watch program in every single block in the neighborhood. So one, turn on the lights, watch out for your neighbors, and here's a phone number to call. Well, this was before we had cell phones. So what a dozen of us did, we put a phone jack on the outside of our home so that the patrol, if they needed to call, other than use their radio, they could plug into one of our phone lines and call the police if that was what was needed to be done. It was a very well organized, the neighborhood was fully behind it. We had over 600 homes, I believe, involved in that program. And it's still in existence today. And that I called the first meeting for that was January the 21st of 1981. Old West End Security is still in existence today.
One of the things I love to do with this program is to highlight it when individuals roll up their own sleeves and work to get things done in their own neighborhoods. And that's why I wanted you to tell that story.
Well, there's more to that story. We had a monthly meeting, and when one of the things we found was we were cheered on by the Toledo Police Department. The officers that worked our neighborhood were fully in support of us, and they helped us along the way. They made it clear to us that quite often they would catch somebody committing a crime in the neighborhood, and the courts would let them off very easy. So if our neighborhood patrolman caught somebody committing a crime, I would get a phone call, and I was encouraged to go in downtown the very next morning, talk to the prosecutor, and try to encourage them to keep the perpetrator in jail. No 10% OR bond. We wanted them locked up. We had to take them out of society. See, I learned a long time ago that there's two societies. One, our society obeys the laws, and two's, their society doesn't obey the laws. So if we want peace and quiet, we need to take them out of our society until they learn to play by the rules. Well, it really got involved then, because once a crime was committed, man was arrested, we did our best to talk to the prosecutor to keep him in jail, and then we would take victims to trial if it had to go to trial. Once they went to trial, they were always found guilty. We then took 10 neighbors, 15 neighbors, and went and talked to adult probation, because after somebody is convicted, they have to get a 30-day report from the adult probation department as to a recommendation as to what the judge should do. Well, of course, we would take the neighbors and we would tell the adult probation all the things the guy did and never got caught for. In other words, we fixed them, and we found these guys they had records. They had 5, 10, 15 convictions, and had never been in jail or gone to jail to spend any meaningful time to get them straightened out. So after we went to adult probation, then coffee and donuts at Michael's house, and 30 of us would go to court and sit right in the front row so the judge could see us. Judges are elected, and they stood up and they took notice. In the 2 years that I was the president of Old West End Security, our batting average was 5 for 5 for 5. 5 arrested, 5 convicted, 5 went to jail. And then to spread the word, we would start a chain letter that each block captain had the neighbors on their block sign, so the scumbag would get 200 or 300 letters while he was in prison that said, "Crime don't pay in the Old West End, pass it on."
Crime doesn't pay in the Old West End.
and we got results.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'm glad we had a chance to chat this morning, Michael. Always good chatting with you, especially when we talk about Toledo. And let's stay in touch and talk again in the not too distant future.
Sounds good, London. I always enjoy seeing you and hearing you on the radio.
Thank you. Michael Murray. I'm London Mitchell. You can contact me through my webpage, londonmitchell.news. And please join us again next week as we continue staying in contact.
Previous installments of Staying in Contact with London Mitchell are available on Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbeam, Podchaser, the Stream 419 app, and londonmitchell.news.